Hey everybody, it's Blaise here, and I want to talk a little bit about Photoshop today. And I discovered, and I know a lot of you guys have probably used this. For me, I just discovered it and I thought it was really cool, and so I wanted to share it with some of you guys. And that is the mixing brush in Photoshop. It's a lot of fun. I've always just been, I'm such a traditional guy. I come from a traditional background that I don't use Photoshop to the degree that a lot of people do out there. I use it for my, my illustration and painting needs, and I tend to paint with traditional thinking, with in the way that I build up my paintings and that sort of thing. And so when I discover these cool digital tools that Photoshop has, I just think they're a lot of fun, and so I wanted to share it with you today. So why don't we go ahead and jump in? It takes a little bit of prep time to show you the full thing, but let's just go ahead and do it. So the first thing I want to do is I want to create a little, I just want to make it like a little ball. So I've got my ellipse tool grabbed, I've pushed the shift key down to make a circle, and I've got a nice blue ball there, and I'm going to come up to layer and rasterize the shape. So now I can mess with it. And I'm going to go ahead and just center it right in there. And then what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and lock it right up here. If you see the lock, that way I can paint over it and paint won't go outside the edges. So I'm going to grab my regular paintbrush tool. You see what I did there? If I hold this down, you can see your whole a whole bunch of different tools there, and that's the paintbrush tool there. But we're going to be jumping down to the mixing brush afterwards. But I'm going to hold that there, and I've got my airbrush set. There we go. I'm going to keep it set at about 172. And let's go and grab a darker color, and let's give this guy a little shadow edge, a little shadow side, because I want to create a ball. That's what I'm looking to do right now. So there's a nice shadowy side, and let's go ahead and get a little bit brighter, maybe right in here. There we go. There we go. It's already starting to get nice and round. Maybe go a little warmer. And then maybe, why don't we give it a highlight? Go really bright with it. There we go. And we'll give it a little bit of a highlight right there. And now I want to grab a little bit of warm color there, grayed out a little bit. Let's go 100 on the pixels. Let's give it a little bit of reflected light. Now let's go a little bigger. 150. So now we got a little bit of reflected light, maybe a secondary light source, bounce light source. But now, see, we've got this ball. So that's cool. I'm going to go ahead and shrink it up a little bit. Okay, so now we've got this cool ball looking thing. Now let's come over to our mixer brush. And I'm just going to grab one of my round brushes, and using my brackets, if you use your brackets, you can increase the size. That's the shortcut. So I'm hitting the brackets, the right bracket. You can see I've increased it up to about the size of the ball, so it encompasses the whole thing. And now I'm going to push the Option key on my, I'm using a Mac. I'm not sure if it's different on a PC, but I'm using my Option key. I press down right in the middle, and when you can see, if you look up here, I've captured that whole image, okay? And the other thing too is when you use your mixing brush, it's going to give you all these settings up here. You want to use the dry heavy load for what we're doing today, okay? So now I'm going to create a new layer. Now watch what happens. I've got this really cool kind of thing, little chain. Now we can play with the spacing, So if we come up into our brush presets and our brush properties, I can pull the spacing, pull it closer together and get this really kind of neat tubing. And it's neat because it gives it its really 3D effect because we've created this ball that has a light source on it. So you've got this really cool thing that happens here. And then just by playing with a little bit of shape dynamics and scattering and all kinds of stuff, I can give it a little bit of scatter. I can come in and pull them closer together and then get all kinds of really fun effects. So there's that, okay? Now, what's really cool about this is you don't have to just keep it with the round brush. I can come up here, and now that I've captured the whole thing for that brush, and obviously I have a ton of different brushes in here, but I can come in and I can grab any brush in my group here. Let's grab one of these, create a new layer, and it does it with that brush. So you can see, this is one of my cloud brushes, and it's got kind of that cloud feel to it on the edges. But check this out. I can come up here. Oh, this is really neat. I had to create this pineapple, a whole field of pineapples for this illustration that I was doing. And so I created this pineapple brush right here. And so you can see it's got this pineapple shape. Now there's a lot of negative space in there, and so I'm going to shrink this down just a touch. So watch this. It creates this really neat kind of mesh. I've got this meshy tube happening. But once again, I can come in here and play with what happens if we play with a scatter. You know, you can come up with all kinds of interesting effects with this mixing brush and using different brushes with different properties. Okay, now there's that. Let's just do one more. Here, let's see what this one does. Oh, that's just a square. Let's do something a little more fun. Let's see what this one does. Look at that. What a cool effect, right? It takes any brush you have and it applies those properties to this really cool tubing. Okay, so that's something to play with. I had a lot of fun just playing with that. But this is what's really cool. So taking that idea where I prepared this ball, I've got foliage that I can create, and I can create it really quickly. Like, watch this. So I've got these foliage brushes. They're actually available on my website, creatureartteacher.com. They're my custom foliage brushes that I created, and I use them all the time for myself. But they could be any foliage brushes that you want to use. But let's say, let's use this one right here. I'm going to create a new layer. And let's get like a mid-green. And I'm just going to lightly just hit some areas there. There we go. Let's do something like that. And once again, I'm going to go ahead and lock it. And now I can play with some other colors of green. And actually, I want to go back to my regular brush. I'm going to go back to here. And let's grab that same brush. Let's grab a different brush. And I'm just going to hit a little bit. I just want to break up this foliage a little bit. And let's go ahead and grab, once again, the other brush. And maybe go a little darker with it. Maybe a little cooler. It'll get a shadowy side to everything. There we go. I want to hit a shadow area. Maybe go even a little darker. Once again, you can notice I've got this locked right here. Now let's come in here, and I want to grab some leaves. Go in with some dark ones. I've got individual leaves that I can paint in. And then if I go, let's go really bright and warm, like they're hitting some, we're getting some nice light hitting on them. And these are directional too. There we go. There. Just hit a few in there. Maybe go a little brighter. Let's shrink them up a little bit. There, so I'm just quickly creating this bush. Give it a little bit of light there. Maybe we can come over, we get some grayer, you know, these are in the shadows, so they're catching a little bit of reflected bluish, maybe light. Like so. Let's go dark, let's go multiply. We'll get some nice dark areas in here. There we go. I'm just being really random with it. There. I'm just going to grab one of my other kind of chalky brushes and go very, very light with it, and I'm just want to create a few shadow areas in here. I want to get some deep darks because that's going to be important for what we're doing here in a minute. There, getting some nice, interesting foliage. Now I'm going to turn, actually I want to hit there, and we're going to come up to normal. I'm just going to hit some of these colors nice and bright, like some of these leaves are catching some. Remember, it's key to keep this locked because you can see I'm just running right over that. There we go. And now once again, I'm going to jump back to my leaves and just do one last little shot over the top of some brighter leaves catching light. Like so. So now we've got this bush that has a light side, it has a dark side, but this is what we're going to use to capture. Oh, you know what? Let's do one more thing. Just to give it a little bit more variety, I'm going to throw in just this little, let's give it a little color there, maybe some branches. You can see just very slightly, you can see a few branches in there. There, see? So we've got a nice, very quick, using the foliage brushes, this bush. So now I'm going to shrink this up. Turn that off. Now this is going to become our pattern. So the first thing I want to do is let's go ahead, like we did before. I want to go ahead, actually I don't have to turn that off. Let's go over to our mixer brush. And I want to grab the whole thing to begin with. So I'm going to start with that ball brush, that circular brush that I've got, and I'm just going to open up till I've got the whole thing right there. And once again, hit the Option key, hit the center, and you can see I've captured the entire bush up there. Now I'm going to create a new layer. And I'm going to come down and grab one of my brushes. Let's say let's start with this one over here. And all I've got to do is, you can see now I'm painting I can just draw, and you can see I'm painting all these different bushes. So that's cool. But why don't we start with, let's go back to the original one over here. I can come in, start just randomly hitting some of these areas along the edge, like so, which is really cool. So we're getting these great effects up in here. Now, let's say, let's turn that off. I want it to feel like the tree has volume, so some of the leaves I want to get bigger. Well, watch this. I can take this piece right here, and now I'm going to enlarge it. Okay? And now, once again, using my Option key, I'm just going to grab the center right there. I've used my brush, my foliage brush this time instead of the round brush. Now watch. Now I'm getting some larger leaves. It's giving it a little bit more volume. There, see that? Let's go back again. Now let's grab some of the lighter colors. I've got to grab that layer. There we go. Let's grab some of the lighter color. Come back, turn that on. Now I'm painting with just the light colored leaves. There we go. We give it a little bit of volume there. Let's come back, turn that on again. I'm going to grab the dark area right there. And let's turn that off. Now I'm painting, look at that, painting with the dark leaves. And then once again, I can come back in here. I'm going to shrink this up just a touch. There we go. Come up here. I'm going to go a little bit bigger with my brush. And go right in the center. Turn that back on. And now I can come in and soften some of those harsh areas that I just created. There. But look at this tree that we're creating. And we come up there, we go. Maybe we create a little bit over there. So quickly. But you can look, it starts to get depth in here. And what's really neat, now I can come in here, I'm going to grab my eraser. And I'm going to use my eraser set to my foliage brush right here. And I can come in, just in case it doesn't work, I want to create a new copy. I can come in and erase out some of the areas. If I want to just create a little bit more interest in the edges. See what I'm doing? Using my foliage brush. So I'm retaining, what I'm doing is I'm retaining those same shapes, but in the negative, with the eraser. I want to pull this back down. Let's just bring that all the way back down. There we go. So I've got, what I like about it is it gives you some interesting edges. You've got pieces that kind of break away. It gives it a little bit more of an impressionistic feel. And then also what you can do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to grab my filter, blur gallery, and I'm going to go to my iris blur. And I want this to be our closest area to us. I'm going to pull this out, pull this out. I'm going to keep these closer to the center. I'm just going to let that blur out as it kind of as things recede away. And what you get is this nice kind of three-dimensional effect. And now I can come back to my regular brush tool and I can grab some of my leaves like I had here. And let's go ahead and go kind of bright with them. And now I can go in and just kind of touch it up. Look how quickly we created this tree. Just want to just kind of touch it up. I'm going to create a new layer so I can blur these guys out as well. But now I can go in and really kind of get this feeling a little better. There we go. Come up here. There. So now I can create nice edges. I can create a really, I'm going to go a little warmer with some of these, just to give it a little bit more variance. There, now look at that. Got a nice lush tree, bush, branches, whatever. Right there. Now once again, I want to come up here to my filter, my blur gallery, my iris shift, pull it down to about in here, pull this out, pull these in, go ahead and hit return. And now you can see everything kind of flows together. Now it's very loose. This is something you might use for matte painting or that sort of thing, but when you put it in the background, it really comes together. And we've done it so quickly using that mixer brush. And if you wanted to, we could create another layer behind everything, like so. I can go back to my mixer brush. Just going to go ahead and lightly hit some areas back here. I want to shrink that down a little bit because I want that to feel like it's further away. I want those leaves to be smaller. Just going to push that back just a little ways like so. Now, watch this. I can create a layer in between. Let's go ahead and grab kind of a, well, let's make it warm. Kind of a warm, like sunlit mist. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill that and then just pull back on that opacity. Just a bit, like that. So now that looks like it's further away, and now all we have to do is grab this filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and that'll push it back into the distance, just like so. Let's go ahead and fill this guy, my background, so we're not completely gray. And now we've got this nice, bright, sunny morning, just like that. And we can actually, let's go ahead and flatten it. And I'm going to go ahead and grab my airbrush tool. There we go, make it about that big, and we'll drop my opacity down to about 8%. I'm going to come down to color dodge. I've got a nice bright warm color. Now I can come in here and just really burn this in. Like the sun is back there and it's really kind of, maybe there's some low fog and it's trying to shine through that fog. We can brighten up some of these areas here. You get this nice effect. But just using that mixer brush and some of the foliage brushes, look what we were able to create so quickly. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. It's something I picked up just a couple days ago, and it's already become kind of this really useful tool. So experiment with it. Go into your mixer brush, try grabbing different patterns and seeing what happens. And experiment with different brushes. For me, it really just came about as through experimenting. So anyway, I hope you learned something. Play with your Photoshop. It's a lot of fun. And until next time, I'll talk to you later. Thanks. Bye. Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, please hit the red subscribe button down below. Spread the word. And also, if there's something that you're not seeing that you'd like to see, let us know. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks a lot.